What's up, everyone? We're back. Welcome to Doctorly Unhinged.
I'm Dr. Maxfield.
And I am Dr. Shaw. And today we have one of the most exciting episodes that we've ever done. And we're going to start off, of course, with our life update. What in the world is going on with Dr. Maxfield? Followed by a product of the day. We're going to be talking about what we've been trying and testing this week. And then we're going to finally dive in to hypochlorous acid, which we made a video on like 2 years ago. But it's on the rise. It's everywhere. You can't get away from it. It's all over TikTok shop. Do you need hypochlorous acid or not? We're going to be diving deep into that. We're going to finish our article on the BuzzFeed's top skincare products in the world. Then we're going to talk a little bit about rice water and whether or not you need that. And finally, we're going to be talking about shark repellent for those of you who like to swim in the oceans.
That sounded so absolutely random to cap off that list with the sharks. All right, so my product of the day, I was going to go with the actual.
What's your life update?
Life update, busy as can be. So there's this, so we're moving to Tennessee. It's official. It's public knowledge. Have some amazing people I'll be working with there. I mean, I can't tell you the people who are in my life. I'm just so thankful for them. And I even put up a little billboard about that. But I mean, so I'm super excited about this transition in some ways. In other ways, it's been extremely daunting. But it's finally happening, and I don't know, I'm both excited and scared, but it's going to be great.
Venturing out on your own with a practice. It's pretty exciting stuff, though.
Yeah. It's a big move, and it's going to be good. What's going on with your life?
Nothing at all. I just moved again. If you're following me on Instagram, I move every year. This should be the final move for a really long time, hopefully. So just in not moving cities or anything, but just moving homes. And so I have boxes all around me. We got contractors in and out, fixing things, painting things, connecting things. So it's been a little bit chaotic this week. And we just put this together today, the setup again. So you can kind of see maybe this light switch is like a new, I don't know. Okay, this light switch is a new feature. So you'll see some new stuff. And then we're going to build out this room, which is going to be really exciting for content creation and podcasts and everything. So hopefully we have actually a better setup than we've ever had before. So stay tuned for that. That's about it. What's your product of the day?
So it was going to be actually a Raslo. I have used a retinol product, remedy for pores. I've used it for 3 months. Non-stop with no interruptions and no other active ingredients, and it's been wonderful. It's been great. Love it. Got everything I wanted out of it. I actually was pretty impressed with the initial reaction I had from it. Like, it's a strong product, and I kind of appreciate that out of it. I like that. So I actually had to work up towards using that every night, and eventually became absolutely no problem, just like you'd expect. But now I'm missing my prescription retinoids. I just have to get back to it. So I put on a Raslo last night. And for those who don't know, that's tazarotene. Is it the most effective retinoid out there? Who knows? It could be. It competes with tretinoin for specific things. It is a little bit nuanced, but it's good. Raslo specifically, Orthoderm makes that. I think it's still under their flagship, and it just has a very nice, elegant vehicle as well as a highly effective retinoid. So enjoying it.
Yeah, I love a Raslo. It always gives me, every time I restart it, gives me that mild peeling, which I love, because you know then that that's gonna be followed by that beautiful glass skin. So I'm a huge fan of tazarotene. And in fact, one of the most common questions we get is how do you use a remedy for pore size with something like an Raslo or tretinoin? And you can definitely alternate them. You could say, well, I'm gonna do remedy for pore size 5 nights a week and tretinoin twice, or a Raslo twice, or I can flip it and say I'm going to do remedy for pore size twice and I'm going to do Raslo or tretinoin for the rest of the 5 days. So that's totally up to you, depending on what your skin tolerance and what you're trying to target. I would say if pores is your main concern, oily skin is your main concern, then use the pore size more. If your anti-aging is more of your concern, then I would say probably lean more into your prescription retinoids.
That makes sense to me. And what is your product?
All right. So I have 2 products. So one is going to be very unusual for me because it is scented, and it's scented just because I think we should do this video, and maybe we'll do this in long form YouTube video. And it will be called the best smelling skincare product.
Yes.
And we focus nothing on functionality, nothing on what we normally focus on as dermatologists. Instead, we're going to focus on the best scent, in our opinion, of skincare products. And so this product, which I purchased and I think is incredibly way too expensive for any product to exist, especially one that doesn't have any true benefits to it. But the scent is incredible. So this is Le Labo Santal 33. Very famous scent. It's what, if any of you have been to the One Hotel, it's what the One Hotel smells like. And this is a really great scent. Now, there's a lot of dupes for this scent, so look for something a little bit more affordable, because I think this like body wash is like $60 or something crazy. But there are definitely better, more affordable options. But the scent Santal 33 is one of the best scents on the market.
Okay, I have not tried that. I'm excited to try that. I'm really excited for that video. I love fun, like off the wall videos, and that sounds like exactly that.
What we really need to review are these facial spray, the hair identifier sprays for shaving. I will tell you something, a secret. So this is from Jill Razor. This is their razor system. So basically how it works, if anyone's used Billy before, so Billy is a replaceable razor system. So, you know, they have like triple blades or double blades. And basically it's kind of like Dollar Shave Club, Harry's. They send you blades every month, like on subscription, right? So you get like 2 or 3 new blades every month or whatever you get from. So that way, you, like, instead of having to replace the actual handle, you replace only the blade every month, and then they send them to you on subscription. So very convenient, and also encourages people to switch out their blades more often, which I think is really good for shaving. Jill is a company that is like the Billy version, but for facial razors. Let me show it to you. I'm going to pull it out right now. And then we'll talk about the hair identifier spray on a longer video. But basically the way that it works is they send you the handle and the kit, and then every time you want to switch out your facial razor, you just kind of replace the razor essentially. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm showing you how this works, but this is from Jill Razor. And basically I started to use this to, like, if you notice, my beard is sort of like lined up in a straight line. So I use a facial razor to do this. Now, I used to buy a metal one from Amazon, and it was really convenient. You could buy like 100 blades for super cheap, and I would just replace the blades. But then they stopped allowing those blades on planes. Something happened, and then all of a sudden TSA said no more metal blades on the plane. So they will allow you to take this because it's plastic. And so ultimately I had to switch out for this razor, and I've been using this to line up my beard. So that's 2 products of the day in one, and then a foreshadowing of the hair identifier spray, which we have to review together at some point.
Nice. This is going to be a fun little session next time. We have some bubbly masks. We have some facial hair identifiers. We have some scents. This is going to be, and we're going to be in a new location the next time we shoot too. This is going to be epic. It's going to be wild.
I feel like we're going to have tons of technical difficulties just because you're shooting in a new location, but we're going to do our best to make the best videos. We shoot together next week, so we're super excited to get some new content to all of you and some deep dives on some of the stuff that's happening in skincare. So let's talk about hypochlorous acid.
Okay, so hypochlorous acid. This is one of my favorite all-time ingredients. And I feel like I have belabored this point over the years to death. It's always like that derm hack that no one cares about, no one knows about, but now they care. Now you care. Now you want a piece of it. And we're going to talk about whether or not this is actually appropriately hyped. Now, I'll tell you why I like it, and then you can tell me why you like it and why perhaps the pendulum has swung too far. So for this piece of machinery, this piece of high-tech gold, it is basically a leave-on sanitizer. If you envision like your alcohol-based sanitizer, this takes that place and then some. So it's leave-on, you spray it. You can use it as your daily hand sanitizer. That's actually my favorite use. I have some in my car. I have some in my like briefcase. I have some in my backpack. I have some at the office. I have some at home, because this is one of those products you're going to use more than you think. It's also very gentle. You spray it onto a paper cut. It doesn't hurt. And you can also use it throughout the day, especially for things like acne or rosacea on the face. If you just don't have a good time to rewash. And so for athletic people, you know, if you don't want to redo your whole skincare routine, if you're coming out from practice or whatever, and you just have to get something on your face, this is a good way to kill bacteria. It is bactericidal. It helps kill fungus. It was even tested against viruses, including the COVID virus. And it has a lot of utility. anywhere you'd think of using a leave-on sanitizer cleanser, this fits that role and it fits it well.
So hypochlorous acid, what is this? So hypochlorous acid is something that is naturally produced by our own neutrophils, which are immune cells in our body that help to fight off any types of infections, right? So during its respiratory oxidative burst, it produces hypochlorous acid that kills these organisms that our skin comes in contact with. And so when you spray it on the skin, because your skin naturally produces it, it's less likely to cause any type of allergy or irritation because it's something that's naturally there. It's also very unlikely to cause any type of resistance to this because it's not something that the organisms need to uptake and then it kills the bacteria. It actually just like oxidatively kills that bacteria. So it does have a lot of uses as an antiseptic. Now, what I'm finding and seeing on social media is that everyone is using it for all things, right? They're like, this is the hack that cured my skin. It's great for texture, for acne, for dark spots, for this thing and that thing. And well, we got to go back to the mechanism. How do these things actually work? And whether or not it's going to be great for your skin is going to be up to whether or not you have any of these issues. Now, I think somebody like Dr. Maxfield, super active. He's going to be exercising during the day. He doesn't have time to maybe shower. So he's going to spray himself. Maybe he's wearing a mask for whatever reason, because he's doing surgeries, or maybe where you're using glasses and goggles because you're at surgery. And when you do that, you're basically occluding a bunch of bacteria into the skin. So if you're wearing a face mask to protect yourself, if you're wearing a helmet because you play football, if you're wearing anything on the face that's going to occlude the skin, we call that acne mechanica. Using something like hypochlorous acid helps to decolonize that bacteria that's on the skin. Now, I think for the average person who's got no issues with their skin at all, I don't think you're going to see any benefit from this. And in fact, I think you could actually see some negative effects from using this product, not because it's going to be irritating you, but because you could potentially disrupt your skin microbiome. So let's say that you kill the healthy, normal bacteria on your skin. It's going to allow other organisms to start to grow and start to flourish on the skin. And you may not want that, right? So if you're somebody who just has perfectly good skin, you're not, putting a mask on, you're not developing any type of acne or anything like that, I don't see any purpose for you to be using this. But what my wife actually uses it for, which is something that I don't know a lot of people are talking about, but she sprays her like beauty blenders with this, and she sprays her makeup brushes with this because it helps to decolonize any type of bacteria that's growing on those things, which we do know is florid on these types of things. So I do think it does have some really interesting types of uses for it that a lot of people aren't using it for.
Yep, totally agree. And so as I envision this whole conversation framing hypochlorous acid, again, it's like a pendulum. I think at our one point, it was, maybe it's not like a pendulum, because I feel like pendulums go up, down, up. Maybe it was like a pendulum at its nadir right at the bottom. But regardless, it was at the bottom of the curve. It got brought up by people who were kind of excited about it originally, but now it's wildly up the other way. And so interestingly, as much as I love this ingredient, I also feel the need to temper the expectations. So we're bringing it back down. We're bringing you back to reality. This is an amazing antiseptic, but if you have normal, healthy skin and you don't need that in your skin's role, it probably won't do much for you. Just use it as a sanitizer for your hands and move on. I think it's interesting though, because I feel like this almost feels similar to vitamin C. It feels similar to hyaluronic acid to me, in that sometimes these ingredients are very popular. They're wildly overpromising, and then we kind of bring it back down. And then like with vitamin C right now, it's probably the lowest point it's ever been. And we decided to make a video about it, hyping it up, because we have, I think, a strong, or at least a firm stance, or at least a consistent stance of what we feel like these ingredients do. And when it deviates from that, it's only natural we kind of try to bring it back to the middle. So that's where we are, I think, with hypochlorous acid. I would love to see more people using it. But for me, it's like, I would love to see more people using it for a hand sanitizer if you're still using alcohol-based sanitizers, because I just think it's superior. And it's not that expensive. And it's well studied. It has in vitro studies, it has lab-based studies, it has in vivo studies, it has clinical studies. It's been studied with people with eczema, rosacea, seborrheic dermatitis, and dandruff, for wound healing. So there's definitely no knock on the data behind it. It's just functionally, how are you using it, and does it line up with its intended purpose?
1,000%. I wonder if anyone's going to say at some point, oh, you could use this just similarly like we use benzoyl peroxide or chlorhexidine for body odor. I wonder if there's going to be a wave of people saying, hey, well, you could use hypochlorous acid for body odor. Why not? So there's a lot of uses when you're thinking of it by its mechanism, which is as an antiseptic. But if the condition on your skin has no bacteria that's causing it, there really is no purpose for using this. So I think, like Dr. Maxfield said, it was completely underhyped to basically non-existent. We posted our video on this January 9th, 2022. So this has been over 2 years, 2.5 years since we posted this video. And that video, I think at the time, didn't do well at all. And now it's become a very popular, ingredient. And so now probably overhyped because people are going to buy it and they're going to use it for the wrong reasons. And then people are going to say, oh, well, it didn't do anything for my skin. And then it will kind of go back to where it normally needs to be, which is being used, like Dr. Maxfield said, as more of like a sanitizer of sorts, right? I don't expect that at any point, like rubbing alcohol, which is going to have a similar function, is ever going to be a hyped ingredient. So think of it in that context, where it's like probably a little bit less irritating than rubbing alcohol is going to. It's definitely going to be less irritating than rubbing alcohol is going to be. But it's interesting this ingredient has gotten so much traction ultimately. And probably one of the more popular ones is Tower 28 spray. But there's also ones on Amazon like the Active Skin one, the Skin Smart one. All of these ones are exactly the same. Ultimately, there's no reason for you to spend more on this ingredient. In fact, it's pretty much dirt cheap to formulate because it's essentially bleach, a bleach alternative, which is essentially free to make. So no need to overspend on this. If you're going to buy, just buy it on Amazon. We'll try to find some links for you that you can use to purchase this. But that's our thoughts on hypochlorous acid.
Perfect. Okay, so hypochlorous acid, we're closing the books there. Our stance is unchanged. Good ingredient. Try it. Don't overhype it. What were we talking about next?
We are going to continue our BuzzFeed favorite products from BuzzFeed, and we're almost done here, as close to done as we can get. We finished on the steamer last time, and we're moving on to Differin Gel. So this is number 21 on BuzzFeed's top skincare products ever. And they mentioned Differin Gel, and they show before and after for acne, and they say that it helps with acne. And I completely agree with that. I think it is the best ingredient for most forms of acne that's available over the counter.
Yeah, I totally agree. Do you want to can you throw up the before and afters for those on YouTube?
Ooh, now we're talking. Yeah, we have learned the ability to do some pretty funky stuff with the podcast. So if you're watching on YouTube, and you can actually watch on Spotify now, you can actually watch the video of us. And in this video, we're going to show you. And so I'm going to pop it up on the screen here. And this is the before and after. Let me see if I can get it to be a little bit more palatable for all of you. So this is the before and after for Differin Gel. And I mean, I think personally incredible results, but this is what I could actually see. I could genuinely see these type of results with Differin Gel. Now, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. This is 2 or 3 months of commitment at least before you start seeing results like this. And you can certainly undergo purging when you first start a retinoid like Differin.
Yeah, perfect. So that's why I wanted to pull that up, because this before and after is believable. Actually, unlike probably all the before and afters we've seen so far, this is probably the rule and not the exception of how this is going to do for your skin. If you're listening, she had mild to moderate acne. She had quite a few bumps, maybe a dozen, maybe more, maybe 2 dozen on her face. And then after, she had maybe 3 or 4. Very realistic. 100% believe that was true. Highly recommend product. Top tier.
Okay. Well, next up we have on the list is the number 22, the Diva Stuff Antibacterial Pillow Mist. So let's show you what this is. It is a mist for your pillows that smells like lavender and spearmint, and it's supposed to help you go to sleep peacefully, but also is supposed to have some type of antiseptic role because it's killing any type of bacteria, according to this. So I don't know why they believe that. I think there is some evidence. So there's tea tree water, there's peppermint, and then there's lavender in it. And I don't know what liquid germol is. Is that like an antiseptic of sorts?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. I mean, you had me at tea tree. If you're going to sell something as antiseptic, sure. I mean, I still believe in that ingredient as an antimicrobial, but positives and negatives exist. So I guess I'm not really in love with this product for multiple reasons. Although, okay, let's assume there are some mild antimicrobial properties in this. And let's also assume that lavender is going to help you sleep. And there are some studies. It's reasonable to think that the lavender scent as aromatherapy could help relax you. And maybe I'm not opposed to that at all. But I mean, here's the problem. I think for the lavender scent, your best bet is to spray it near you, not on something you're going to sleep on, because it is an allergen and an irritant. And if it's on your face all night and you're rubbing all over it, that's just bad news for your skin. Similarly, the other ingredients, now the antimicrobial portion, you actually need to spray that where your skin is going to be coming in contact. So I actually think those two ingredients are kind of diametrically opposed in terms of where they should be used. And overall, I don't know. I'm not sure it's not on my main. I don't love it. I don't love it.
All right. Well, there you have it. I agree with you. Let's move on to the next one, which is 23 Seraphic Skincare's Microdermabrasion Mitt. Now, a lot of people use these mitts to exfoliate the skin. It apparently removes all the dead skin. And I am not convinced, and I've said this before, and we're going to debunk this. I'm not going to tell you how we're going to debunk this, but I'm not convinced that it's actually skin that's coming up. In fact, because I think it's the glove. So we're going to prove it.
Well, I have these. I just need to remember to bring them. We have everything we need to debunk this waiting for us. So I just hope I bring them. That's all. And we will debunk this. And then we'll have a strong opinion on this very soon.
We're going to add this to the list. So Pat, Larice, add this to the list of videos we need to make for long form next week. And we're going to be debunking this. Maybe I'm going to be debunking myself, actually. So we're going to find out. Next up is O'Keeffe's hand cream. Popular. Love this.
They love this. Have you tried it?
I have not tried it, but look at this before and after of these really irritated eczematous hands now turned into soft and gentle and delicate hands. What are your thoughts on that?
So I bought the product. I've tried the product. I've used the product. If you look at the ingredient list on the product, which I don't have memorized, it's not amazing. And the product itself is not very thick. It's not a very thick vehicle based off of what we always hear from patients. I don't like this product. I think there are better alternatives. I know people swear by it. It's probably the most common, like, average person's hand cream that they use if they're occupationally developing these dry, cracked hands. I am not a fan. I think there are better options out there. Even if you go with something like the La Roche-Posay Cicaplast Balm, I think it's better. So I think there are a lot of better options for the hands than this O'Keeffe's.
So I'll give you the ingredient list here. We're looking at water, glycerin. So glycerin is a good humectant moisturizer. We like beeswax. Some people are allergic to it, but good moisturizer as well. It also has allantoin, which is calming and soothing. And then this diacetyl urea, which is, for some people can be an allergen preservative. So overall, not a bad list of ingredients, but if you're saying that your main issue is performance, then I think probably this is not going to be a winner.
Yeah, I think it can help some people, but I still think there are better options.
All right. Now, next one, which I am very, very curious about, and I have a lot of thoughts about this, and maybe we can give some tips about this. And this is a Rykon's Foot File Scrub. So it's basically a way to scrub away dry, cracked heels. So so this happens is my mom has this issue, but what this essentially is like a cheese grater. So let me what this looks like. So this is essentially a cheese grater for your foot. And, I think that certainly a way to get rid of dry, cracked calluses on the feet. It's going to be a snowstorm when you use this. And 102,000 ratings with 10,000 people buying it this past month. So this cheese grater for the feet is actually very, very, very popular. So what are your thoughts? Are there any other tips that you have for people with those calluses on the feet?
Yeah. I am not against mechanical exfoliation for the feet, especially with this condition. I think you have to mechanically exfoliate your feet once it gets to a certain point in thickness. I hate this product. I think it's just an uneven, extremely aggressive way to mechanically exfoliate that skin. I like pumice stones. So generally, I recommend while your skin is damp, while it's soft, then you come at it with a pumice stone. I think it's a much more gentle, much more even way to resurface and remove that dry buildup of thick skin. I mean, it's wildly thick. And then for maintenance, you come behind it with 40% urea, that one from Ebinol, 40% salicylic, 40% urea with salicylic acid. That combination is very effective. That's much preferable to me than this cheese grater.
All right. Yeah. So I sort of agree with you. on that. And cheese grater, I would avoid it. Huge fan of 40% urea for dry cracked heels. I think it's incredible. My mom swears by it. My mom also started using Remedy for body bumps, which has urea and lactic acid in it. She says it's also made a huge difference for her as well. So I think you could use anything with a strong exfoliant in it that's moisturizing, but avoid the cheese grater is my thoughts as well. Then we actually have another one. So on the next on this list is Lee Beauty's Callus Remover Gel, which is meant to soften. And they say use a pumice stone or the rasp from earlier, and then follow with this one from Lee Beauty. And let's kind of look at this. It's some type of gel formula for the feet, and the ingredients are going to be the key here, if this is going to be useful or not. So I am not seeing an ingredient list, which is always super frustrating, but I see some good before and afters, which is promising.
Yeah, we'll hunt this ingredient list down here. I'm looking to, okay, here we go. It is buried. I am on noon.com. I've checked Nepalese websites. I've checked eBay. I checked Amazon. I checked Walmart. None of them had ingredients. So this may or may not be accurate. I have no idea about this website. But based off of this website, it says first ingredient, aqua, which is a chemical. The second ingredient is urea. The third ingredient is magnesium sulfate. Fourth is carbomer, then glycerin, then phenoxyethanol, then octadiol. Potassium hydroxide, last is eucalyptus oil. The only functional things in this really are your urea. That's good that it's high in the ingredient list. Hopefully it's a high concentration though. Not entirely sure. Glycerin, sure, that's fine. It's in everything. Eucalyptus oil is a negative in my opinion.
Okay. So the issue with this, right, and we've talked about this before, is that when it comes to urea, the most important thing is the concentration of the urea. So urea at concentrations less than 10% doesn't have exfoliating or keratinolytic properties. So if you're going to be using urea on the skin less than 10%, it's not helpful. So it would be helpful to know from Lee Beauty, what the concentration of urea is. Now, since it's the second ingredient on the list, it likely is high in the ingredient list, but I would love to see what that actually is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next up is it's actually the Duramora foot masks. So these are foot masks that help to exfoliate the feet. I've seen these all over TikTok before, and I haven't seen them lately, but these were super hot for making what they call baby soft feet. So what are your thoughts on these? Again, I think this is going to come down to our master ingredient list.
The before and afters on social media with these and the process of which these work on social media are wild. It looks like your whole bottom of your foot is peeling off. I don't know how I feel about these. It's kind of one of those things that if I haven't tried it, and I also don't have thick enough skin on the bottom of my feet yet to where I feel like I would want a good 4 millimeter layer peeling off in homogeneity. So it could be helpful for some people. But I don't know if it's for everyone because of how thick I've seen some of these sheets coming off.
Yeah, so they say leave it on for 60 minutes, take it off, and that you'll notice peeling within the next week or so. So this is like a true chemical peel that's occurring. And I'd be careful where you put this. I am very, very, I'm concerned about what is in this. But I'm going to pull up the ingredient list here because I think it's going to be really important. So all ingredients are alcohol, citric acid, lactic acid, malic acid, and salicylic acid. So it definitely has some of your AHA, BHAs in it. But overall, if they must be at high concentrations. If the videos I've seen have been incredible. So maybe we can pull up a video because now we have the capabilities, and see if we can pull this up so we can show you how crazy these videos are. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a good example of what it can look like, where basically an entire layer of your foot starts to peel off. And, I don't think there's a video of them peeling it off, but this is just showing an example of how crazy it can be, the results. So you put these kind of like in a mask and you put them on, and that's how it works. So that's pretty crazy. I'd be willing to try this, not on social media, but I would be willing to try this and report my results ultimately to all of you. But depending on the ingredients, I think if it does have ingredients at higher concentrations for exfoliating, be careful just to make sure that's only on the feet. Make sure that you definitely have those thicker heels in order to have enough skin so that you don't rub yourself essentially raw from this. And it does look like it could be quite effective. So you could pumice stone, apply this, and see how well it does for you. Just be cautious with it because it clearly has some pretty strong exfoliating acids in it.
Yeah.
All right. Next up on our list is the Bloom Meltdown Acne Oil. So this is a rosehip, blue tansy, tamanu, and black cumin seed formula that is meant to help with acne. So what are your thoughts on this? It's showing some pretty incredible before and after results of some pretty inflammatory acne that got much, much better. And just really there's some post-inflammatory erythema afterwards, but this person's results look pretty incredible.
Yeah, I have two thoughts. One is that seems unlikely. There are no ingredients in this that are quite that strong to calm down acne that much. I was looking at what they're claiming. They said that it was primarily the black cumin seed oil, an underrated antibacterial and anti-inflammatory oil that helps fade pigmentation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would not be confident it's going to help for the acne, one. And then two is kind of the aesthetics of it. For many people with acne and oily skin, that often goes hand in hand. And putting an oil on oily skin, to me, sounds terrible. I know a lot of my patients dislike that aesthetic when they have oily skin. They definitely don't want to add more oil to it. Not that it's inherently bad. It just feels bad. But for someone who has acne and dry, sensitive skin, because that also exists, sure. Like, do you want to give this a try? Sure. But I would never use this in lieu of any other effective acne ingredient.
100%. So what you'll notice here actually is, so when you look at the BuzzFeed article, you'll notice something very interesting. They call it the Bloom Meltdown Acne Oil. But what you'll notice actually is that Bloom doesn't call it the Meltdown Acne Oil. What they call it, and this is really something critical for all of us to look at when you're, picking out these things, is that they call it the oil for acne prone skin. So what's really important here is that they're not even making the claim that it treats acne. And the reason why they're saying it's for acne prone skin and not an acne treatment is because in order for something to be an acne treatment over the counter, it needs to fall under the monograph by the FDA. So this is actually not an acne product. So in order for it to be an acne product, it needs to have salicylic acid, benzoyl peroxide, sulfur, adapalene, or even resorcinol in it. It doesn't have any of the ingredients that fall under the acne monograph. So this is not an acne treatment by any means. This is a product that is supposed to help with acne skin. And maybe it has a few ingredients, tea tree, things like this. But again, I think that from an aesthetic perspective, most people with acne are going to hate this experience. Most people with acne really, really avoid oils on the skin in general. So I think this is going to be something that people really don't like. And on top of that, it doesn't have any ingredients that actually treat acne. So I would avoid this. And they're not even claiming to treat acne, despite the fact that this BuzzFeed article says that they are. This is for what they say acne. And it has sunflower oil, which we like, but the rest of the ingredients, pretty bad for acne prone skin, in my opinion.
Yeah, same. Agree.
Next up is the Base Lab Keloid Minimizer. So this is a keloid treatment. So I'm going to show you what this is showing. They're showing results of basically like a keloid from a piercing in the cartilage in the upper ear. These are very, very, very common. Just because you form keloids in the ear doesn't mean that you're going to be prone to keloids in other parts of the body. But a lot of people form both bumps. They form what we call piercing bumps after getting their cartilage pierced, or they even form full-blown keloids from piercings. And so this is showing a before and after of a keloid on the ear. And they're saying it resolved with this $12 product from Amazon.
Okay. So when I first saw the name of this product, I thought it was going to be a pressure button. So keloids come in multiple shapes and sizes. One consistent thing is that keloids on the ears respond better than anywhere else on the body. You can do X, Y, Z, and it might actually improve. And one of the best ways to do that is with these little pressure buttons that can actually shrink them up, especially after you do an ear piercing or you actually remove a keloid and then put this on. So you surgically remove it and then put a button on. It actually helps prevent recurrence. Now, this is absolutely not that. I was watching the video real quick of how to apply it. It's an oil. Once again, we're back to the oils. And it is grapeseed oil, lavender, rose water, turmeric, rosemary oil, jojoba seed oil. And she applies it to her fingers. She massages it. So it's like a massage oil. And I don't know. I don't believe it's going to work consistently. And I don't know. I don't know if I want to say just don't bother at all, because it's like, what else are you going to do at home? Unfortunately, usually with this sort of thing, you do and are left to seeing a professional to either surgically treat it, which we wouldn't normally do on the body, or inject it with something to help minimize it, shrink it. But I'm going to pass on this one.
So I'll tell you from a mechanistic standpoint, right? Because this is essentially just different types of botanical oils. From a mechanism standpoint, it makes absolutely zero sense that this product would do anything for a piercing bump or a keloid for that matter. So keloids in general, like, are not going to respond to this treatment. Now, on the flip side, it could a piercing bump respond to this? Now, the before and afters, I'm looking at the reviews, and these look like authentic reviews. Pretty good for piercing bumps. Like, people apparently put this on their piercing bumps, and they're seeing some good results to this. Now, I wonder, a lot of piercing bumps just go away on their own. So I wonder if this is just almost like a placebo phenomenon that's occurring with this product, because I'm not seeing any pictures of actual keloids with good before and afters, but I'm seeing really good pictures of people. And I'll show you kind of, I think this is important so that you can understand the difference between a piercing bump and a keloid, but I'll try to zoom in here and show you. But these before and afters actually look pretty phenomenal. Like, for example, if you look at this person, let me zoom out here. The before and after is showing this piercing bump. Now, this is a piercing bump. This is not a keloid. And this is showing the after result. So really, really good. And, this, a lot of times you can achieve this with just a saline solution. You can achieve this just with doing nothing. You can put a mild topical steroid on this, and it should get better with time. So it's hard to know whether or not this actually is a result of this product, but this is a piercing bump and not a keloid. So if you have a keloid, which is a very exaggerated scar that occurs way beyond the wound, this oil is not going to help at all. Now, you could try this oil on a piercing bump, but you could also just try normal saline, which is what I would prefer. And you can even go back to your piercer, and they can give you one of those little things to put on your piercing bump to help kind of like squish it. And that's also a really effective option for people that form a piercing bump.
Nice. Yep. So good synopsis, good breakdown.
Next product is the MaxSoft Shampoo Scalp Massager. Thoughts on this?
I love them. So the purpose of these scalp massagers, they're soft but firm, and they're to help get ingredients to your scalp and break up scale to make the ingredients more effective. I do think that's legitimate. They're very gentle. I have no problems with them. I will say sometimes it's like a nice experience. Sometimes it kind of like pulls your hair and it's not a nice experience. But I think for breaking up scale, for thick dandruff, even for psoriasis on the scalp in the shower, these do a good job. Functionally, they work fine. They have a very dedicated purpose, and they elevate your other topical ingredients for your scalp, and even elevate your shampoos to be more effective by breaking away the layer of scale so ingredients can get there.
Completely agree. I love these silicone scalp scrubbers. I always feel like I'm in a spa when I use these. I'm like, ooh, look at me. And I keep them in the shower, and I just kind of scrub my scalp with them anytime I use any dandruff shampoos. And it does, I do think, help it really kind of focus on the area where it needs to be. I love them. I think they feel great. And get the silicone ones, which have a little bit of antimicrobial properties. They're easier to clean, but definitely clean them when you're in the shower as well, because when you have any product that's wet and sits there, they develop fungus, yeast, mold. And so just make sure that you're cleaning it before you're using it every time.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Next up is an ice roller. So this is an ice roller that you use for the skin. What are your thoughts on ice rolling and just ice for the skin in general?
It's fine. I have really no major problems with it. I mean, you could just use ice. You could use a cold spoon. You could use a cold cucumber. You can use a cold anything, and it would have a similar purpose. It constricts your blood vessels. It'll help with puffiness. It is kind of like a nice, refreshing experience. I mean, you can make an ice roller with full of anything. You could put this as cucumber water. You could make juice. I actually feel like this would be a very nice popsicle holder that I would certainly enjoy this summer. And if you want to do it, fine. It's kind of unnecessary, but I don't have a major qualm with these.
Yeah. So this is completely temporary, help to depuff, help with redness, no long-term benefits at all, but could give you a little jolt in the morning. So I'm certainly not against these. But again, you don't need anything special to accomplish this. People probably love the way that this feels, but you're not going to really see any long-term benefits. And I've seen videos of people saying, oh, I dunked my face in ice, or I used these ice rollers and it lifted my skin, or it helped with pores, or it helped with acne, but it really is not going to do any of that. But I think in the morning, if you're somebody like me who wakes up with a lot of puffiness, this is something that could help reduce puffiness early in the morning by just vasoconstricting those blood vessels in the face. It could give you that jolt that you need to look refreshed, but otherwise nothing beyond that.
Nice. Next is pretty much the last product, because the other very last product is hypochlorous acid, and we already talked about that in depth. So the next one, the last one, is Paula's Choice Liquid Exfoliant. It's pretty good.
Which we like. So this is a salicylic acid liquid exfoliant, and basically showing you some before and afters here. Salicylic acid is, again, it could be used for acne. They actually do not make acne claims with this product, despite the fact that they probably could if they wanted to, because they do have 2% salicylic acid in this product. Now, this is a viral product, helps with pores, helps with texture, is good. It's very simple, toned down, but gentle product for people who have any type of texture, oily skin, large pores. I do love this product. It is the best-selling product from Paula's Choice, and they sell thousands and thousands and thousands of units each month.
Nice.
Next up, we said the Tower 28 SOS spray on hypochlorous acid, which we've already talked about the benefits of this and what it doesn't do. So, for example, this rosacea, maybe. And then Laneige lip mask we've talked about in the past as well. We actually don't love these for moisturizing the lips, even though they do smell and taste delicious.
Nice. So that is it. We've burned through the list slowly. But I will say that the reason that list, I like that list because I think they did a great job of capturing very viral trending products. I think every product was somewhat relevant and important to a lot of people. Yeah, so I really like that list. They did a good job with that.
Yeah, this was a pretty comprehensive list of popular products out there. Now let's move on to our next topic,
which is rice water.
Rice water. So tell me, do you need to be using, you seem to be the world's expert in rice water, because when I brought this topic up, you had a ton of things to say about it. So kind of rattle off your facts about rice water, because I'm curious.
Okay, so rice water, a traditionally Eastern skincare item. This is one of those things on TikTok you'll see, like, my grandmother only used rice water. She looks like beautiful. She's flawless. She's 102 and looks amazing. And it's just been handed down over time. Now, the interesting thing about rice water is twofold, in my opinion. One is it's very gentle. So if you're ever worried about these viral trending hacks, this one, really, there's not much of a concern. And for me, it's very inexpensive as well. And so there's no safety problems, not a lot of downside. The question is, how big is the upside? And what rice water brings to the table is it is, of course, like most plants, high in antioxidants, phenolic compounds that can protect, complement, I'd say, some of your other items to help prevent UV damage. It minimizes it to some extent as antioxidants. There is some nuance to this, though. And that's that there's one study I found, and it actually compared a lot of different types of rice and their effectiveness as antioxidants. Now, how do you apply this information? I'm not sure, because it was like their, what do you call it? Like plant phylospecies name of the rice. And it's like, you can't go to the grocery store and ask for, like, whatever random type of rice is the most effective. But it's not all the same. And also how you prepare it's not the same. So there was a study actually looking at the difference between, what was the verbiage they used? One was fermentation. It was fermentation versus some sort of, ash extract. So you take the rice, you actually cook it down, and then you have the burnt extract that you're using. And that completely destroyed it. Basically, if you use the burnt extract, it makes it completely unhelpful. So you really do need to ferment it. And I went through the process. I actually made this myself, cooked it myself, made the rice extract, rice water myself, made it in a couple different forms, stored it differently each way. So I think there's enough data there to say it could be helpful. I think there's not a lot of downside. So if you want to use it, you should use it. I think it probably overpromises. This is not the only ingredient you should use. And then there's also the anecdote. So having used it, it is starchy. So for better or worse, if you're someone with oily skin, you might actually enjoy this experience. If you're someone with dry skin, you may not enjoy it as much. And then it smells. So it smells like putting rice water on your face. It just smells like that. It's kind of musty. That's probably the best word. And then if you don't store it correctly, it ferments and becomes rancid. So if you just leave it on your counter, even for a couple of days, it is just straight rancid. And so not only is it musty, it smells terrible. So a lot of nuance to this thing. It doesn't change your skin, but I think it can be helpful for your skin. And I actually think it's a fine at-home hack for people who want to indulge.
Anytime that you put water into a skincare product or any type of product, it needs to have preservatives in it. Otherwise, it goes bad very quickly. So this is one of the challenges with natural products that are preservative free, is that you'll find that they do become rancid very quickly. So if you are making, so one of the challenges that I've already elicited from this conversation here with Dr. Maxfield is that it is very challenging to make this rice water blend yourself at home. So it's not something that's faster or quicker, making your life more convenient. And so then I thought, well, okay, what if you just batch it, right? You make it a bunch of it in one sitting, and then you kind of use it throughout the month. Maybe then, kind of like meal prepping, it could be something that could then become convenient for you if you're somebody who's really committed to the benefits of rice water. And some people even use it on the hair. So, you could find a lot of different uses for it. But again, it would probably go bad pretty quickly because it lacked any types of preservatives. So you would probably have to freeze it. And then you'd freeze it and thaw it. And then maybe you turn it into an ice roller. So now you have an ice roller rice water that you're using for the skin. So that could be a way that you do it. But ultimately, I think, to me personally, I'm all about convenience. I'm busy. Dr. Maxfield's busy. All of you are busy. I think if you have a lot of extra time and you want to make your own skincare products, rice water could be the way to go. But in my opinion, I think highly inconvenient, despite the ingredient actually probably being beneficial. I'd like to see extracts of rice water in more skincare products that basically ferments and isolates the most effective parts of those plants and then uses them in skincare products.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to incorporate this ingredient. If it wasn't a skincare product, it would definitely be a positive for me. I would say that's a good thing. So make it more convenient, and I'm much more likely to do it.
All right. And last on our list, this is something that Dr. Maxfield really wanted to talk about, which is shark repellents. So tell us a little bit about the background story here, why this is becoming a hot topic right now. I know that you're a huge fan of these shark repellents. You think that they are quite effective at keeping sharks away from you when you're swimming. So I'd like to hear from the audience, how many of you in the comments, let us know how many of you are spending a lot of time in the ocean with shark exposure, and whether or not you think this is going to be a helpful tip for you this summer. I know that Dr. Maxfield does do a lot of surfing, so this is very, very relevant to him. And he apparently has never been bitten by a shark. So that's anecdote enough for me.
So, right. So shark attacks are, I don't know, maybe it's just my feeds and whatever. We all live in our little silos these days. But there have been a lot of high-profile shark attacks already this summer. And it's a terrifying experience. No one wants that. And it's very tragic every time. And it's also very rare. So the fact that I haven't been bitten, I could go out probably every day for the rest of my life, and I should never get bitten by the numbers. And that's a completely reasonable expectation. But these Sharkbanz, so what they are, they're a magnet. It's pretty dang simple. It's a magnet. You strap it to your ankle or your wrist, however you want to do it. And it's supposed to deter the sharks. We've actually talked about it occasionally before in passing in other videos. I've worn these now for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, perhaps, way before this became more of a trending and larger conversation. And the reason I originally got on board with this is that sharks are scary. Like, I'm from Colorado. If you put a black bear in my yard, I'm completely comfortable. I'm like, oh yeah, look, it's a black bear. I've seen that all day growing up. But sharks, it's foreign to me, but I love surfing. So I had to kind of compromise with that. And yes, I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's irrational. Like, don't be afraid of sharks. Like, it is what it is. Sharks are scary. Like, just deal with that. Now, what won me over though, and I'm going to parallel this with having a cold. So there is not great evidence that these work. Just like when I have a cold, everything I take and do for it, there's almost no evidence it's going to work. but there's also not a really strong thing that does work for avoiding sharks or for a cold. And so I'm going to try pretty much anything. And so we'll put up a video here. There's the actual videos on the website for these Sharkbanz. And this is what won me over. Dr. Shaw can put up the video here for those of you watching on YouTube. But what they do, it's a very simple idea. They take this little bracelet, they put it on a dummy, or they put it on something baited, and they put it into an area that's already full of sharks. So the video now, it has the Sharkband on it. And they've done this multiple times in multiple different regions with multiple different types of sharks. And basically the sharks come up to it when the deterrent is on the dummy, and like, look, the shark just approached it and boom, swims away quickly. And it's consistent. Then they take the band off, they put it right back in the same water, and within seconds, it gets bit. And over a period of a minute, it might have like 70 bites. And so it's not strong science, and it's kind of anecdotal, but it's been reproducible for them. And the videos for me were very compelling. Like, that was convincing enough to me that for this very rare occurrence, this seemed worth a shot. Now, there is actually a study that was published comparing different shark deterrents, and this was not found to be particularly effective. But again, there's very limited data out there. This is a very easy thing to do. They're not cheap. It's like $100+, but you should never have to buy it again. Now, the controversy surrounding this, though, here's what caught my eye with this. This is why I felt like it was worth talking about, because in the surfing world, this seems to actually still be a growing topic. And I don't know anything about Barstool Sports. I asked Dr. Shaw about this television show or whatever it is before, but it seems crazy. The headline, Barstool Sports. Oh yeah,
Barstool Sports is it's, they initially, I mean, they okay, so this is a Dave Portnoy phenomenon. So, if you know Dave Portnoy, you kind of know what he's about, but he basically, a lot of their content on Barstool Sports is them just reposting popular videos on the internet, quite honestly. They also do sports commentary. They also did some sports betting and stuff, but it's really kind of like a popular sort of meme channel. And the head of this, and they create a lot of their own like original series and commentary on things, but the head of this is a gentleman named Dave Portnoy, who has a notoriety online. Let's just put it that way. And there's a lot of interesting stories about him. And he does a lot of pizza reviews. So you may have seen his pizza reviews. One bite, everybody knows the rules. But he is quite the character. But yeah, so that's Barstool Sports in a nutshell for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Because I'm sure a lot of you are probably not familiar with that as well. But anyway, Barstool Sports continues to pile on, declaring, if you buy a shark repellent from the one-armed surfer, you deserve to be bitten. And this was after Bethany Hamilton, who is a famous surfer because of her shark attack. She just kind of became the spokesperson for shark attack victims when she was a child. She continues to surf, is still a very avid surfer, still very engaged in the surfing community. And recently, I actually saw this on Instagram first. I saw her do a post with Sharkbanz, a sponsored post. I was like, oh, that's cool. I've never seen a sponsored post from them before. I mean, it seems appropriate they would pick her. And her whole take on the video was, I'm not afraid of sharks. You don't need to be afraid of sharks. But this might decrease the risk, either if you are or just to decrease the risk, which I think is quite reasonable. But the fact that they would go so far as to say, if you buy shark repellent from a one-armed surfer, you deserve to be bitten. Like, that is just like an egregious statement to make, and a completely uneducated, ignorant statement to make, because it has nothing. I mean, she was bitten as a child. These didn't exist when she was a child. And she had a very thoughtful take on it, a very reasonable take. Like, you don't need to be afraid. These are not aggressive, dangerous killer creatures, which, I mean, they're just living in their home and you're in it. And I thought she had a very measured video. I thought her whole take on it was it. And then they just come in and be like, she's got one arm. Look at her. Don't buy this from her. You'll get bit too. And if you get bit, you deserve it. Like, that was wild and completely uncalled for. So
yeah, it's pretty awful, honestly. I mean, I'm hearing this for the first time. That's an awful thing to say about anybody. And they're well known for their takes on things. Some things, some good takes, some pretty awful takes on things. But they find themselves in the center of controversy not unoften. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, that's a really kind of mean and awful thing to say, especially when the backstory doesn't really make sense. It's not like she was wearing this magnetic band when she got bit. It's a long time ago. So no, I mean, I think you're right. I think there are certain things that we do despite lack of or low quality evidence just because it's better than the alternative. We don't really have like great options. So to your point, there's not really much you can do to repel sharks. If you can spend $100 and there is any benefit, even if it deterred like the one shark that was going to get you, it's like, why not? Right. So I think to your point, it's a low risk other than the financial hit that you take initially, but you know, surfing's not cheap anyway with all the different gear that you need. Your life's not cheap either. So it's probably worthwhile to try something if it is going to have any benefits. I mean, there's pretty low quality evidence that bug sprays work, but I still use them all the time and they seem to work pretty well for me. So yeah. So I think ultimately, you know, just like you said, I'll take elderberry for colds. Probably worthwhile to try to repel sharks in any way that you can.
Yeah, same. So I'm going to keep wearing it. Wore it before this whole thing. I'll wear it after this whole thing. And the 1 in a million chance I give it, hopefully it cuts that chance in half, but who knows?
All right. Well, stay tuned because he goes surfing all the time. And if it works well, I mean, we could do some studies on it. We could put him out there and tie some fish to him and see how he does and see how confident he is then. And we'll go from there. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out. Leave us reviews for the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. And we will see you next week for another episode. And again, we're shooting in person. So let us know any topics that you want to see. By the time this airs, a few days after that, we'll be recording in person. So we'll be looking at those comments for any suggestions that you have on videos that you want to see. And thank you all so much for your support. We'll see you next week.
Yep. We appreciate your feedback. Can't wait to see more of you. Bye.